to the Explore test. And then afterwards, if those people, if you're not interested about the graduation requirements, you can leave, and I'll just talk individually with those people regarding credits, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through just a very, I guess, I did a lot more with your students, okay? I'm going to do less with you because I don't want to waste your time. But let's start with what your students did or will do. So the first thing that we do with the Explore results, the kids have the results in front of them, okay? And basically what we do is we go through each and every box here, okay? We talk about, you know, the importance of the Explore test. What we're finding out right now is that we need to do a little bit better of an explanation in terms of what this Explore test is all about and why they should take it seriously. Because after interacting with the students, they're telling me, and maybe you can tell me the same thing, once they hear this test does not count towards your grades or your GPA, boom, they check out. Okay, and they don't necessarily put the amount of effort into it like we'd like them to do. Okay, that's what the kids are reporting back to me. So the results that we have here, we have to take with a grain of salt. Okay, but with that, what we try to do is explain to them the importance of this test and how the Explore relates to the plan and how the plan relates to the ACT. Okay, as you well know, colleges look at your ACT scores. So they get two opportunities to take tests that are very similar to the ACT. Okay, the Explore, the plan in 10th grade, and then you take the ACT. Again, you can really take it whenever you want. Okay, but basically most of them take them in grades 11 and 12. Okay, so once we do this, again, what the kids will do is they'll go with a highlighter and they mark each box. Okay. First box here, I explain to them what these scores mean. Okay. And again, and I'm not sure what the results, what you got in the mail, but basically it breaks down their scores. On the ACT and on the plan, you're always going to be tested in these areas: English, math, reading, and science. Okay. This happens to be a test that's out of 25. I think the plan is out of 32. Okay, and ACT, Beth, what is out of ACT, do you know?
It is out of 26.
Is it 26?
Yeah.
Okay, so with that,
No,
36?
36. You are correct. And
I wonder why that'd be a little bit lower.
Wow, I sounded really confident too.
We're all like,
I was like, yeah, 26. No, 36. You're right.
So we go through this and we explain a little bit about what these scores are all about. And the biggest question that the kids have is what's the composite score, okay? And that is an average of these scores of science, reading, math, and English. Okay, that's just an average. And then they ask, okay, well, how come there's two scores in English? Okay, they just break down the English into two different departments. Now you can see though, when you add these up, that doesn't give you the score of 16. There's a different formula that they use for that. Okay, and I'm not really quite sure how that's figured out, but there's no error. Okay, these two together will not equal that. Okay, then we talk about what this means over here in terms of the percentile. Okay, so again, percent of students scoring at or below your score. Okay, so I tell the kids, for instance, if somebody was scored at 61 percentile, okay, that means you scored at or better than 61% of the kids. How many of the kids, simple math, scored better than you? If it's 61%? Anybody know?
39.
There you go. Okay, 39. So they get a little better understanding of what these scores mean. And then we talk about the difference between, you know, in your school and in your state. Okay, and it always seems like within your school compared to your state, they always have a higher score within your state. Okay, and we talk about the significance about that when they go on to college and they start applying to colleges, in the sense that you're just not going against Edina students. You're going against all students. Okay, and then all of a sudden you hear they feel a lot better when they hear that. Okay, so Any questions with that box in terms of the interpretation of the scores and what they mean?
One we got, didn't have it in your state.
Which one did you guys get? Is it just your school?
No, but we got the United States and your state.
Oh, yeah, United States.
Okay, okay. Which one was that one? Is that your? That's a little, Beth, is there any way to get that clear?
No.
I think the next one then again is your plans, okay? This is just, again, it depends upon how they scored, okay? We talked a little bit about the significance of your English, your math, your social studies, and science, and comparing that, okay, to what you need in terms of high school. So basically what this is looking at, and kids have gone through this already, I've gone through it with them, or I will go through it with them. This is telling you how many years, okay, or we broke it down in terms of credits. How many years or how many credits you're gonna need in the areas of English, math, social studies, and science, okay? And you'll see on that form that I gave you, I think it's the goldenrod form or the pink form, where it talks about the recommended credits for college and what you're gonna need, okay? This gives them some idea of their thought process as it relates to what they're gonna need for college. And some students actually, you know, they will report that they only want to take 2 more years of mathematics, okay? Well, they look at this and they say, okay, that's not right, I'm gonna need another year of math. Okay, that's all that that's saying right there. They wanna make sure that the kids have a good understanding about what the requirements are for college. Okay, and again, it's all based upon their opinion or what they think they need for college. Okay, any questions with that? Okay, next one, your reporting needs. It's really funny when you work with kids at this age because they don't think they need to work on anything. And so what we end up doing is we end up going back and then we start looking at some of their current classes and maybe some of the things that they're not doing so well. And then I actually have them check mark, you know, after the test in terms of what they think their needs might be, and then they write those down, okay? But again, it's basically based upon their opinion, what things they think they might need to improve upon or want to improve upon, okay? And I will say this, what's really interesting with this generation of kids, when it says improving my computer skills, okay, their interpretation of that is what? You know what that means to them? Typing, okay? And they're not very good typists. When you talk about home row, they have no idea what you're talking about, okay? So a lot of kids, when they saw that, they check mark that and say, okay, yeah, I just need more help with typing, okay? Typing to them is using their thumbs. So it's just really interesting when you talk with kids. So again, reported needs, okay, that's just based upon,
But that was self-reported.
that was
For
self-reported.
the check marks, so the ones
Yes.
they thought they needed.
Yes, self-reported. Yep. Okay, your plans after high school, again, all this is self-reported in terms of where they think they're gonna land in terms of a 4-year university, a graduate school, or what have you. The only thing that I tell the kids here is that by the time they leave Edina Public Schools, they will be college ready, okay? They don't need to take an AP course. They don't need to take an enriched course. If they just stayed within the traditional curriculum, they would still be college ready. All of our classes, okay, if they pass them, okay, they're going to be ready for college. I guess my message to them is it doesn't matter where you go, as long as you go somewhere. Whether it's a 2-year, a 4-year, whatever it is, you just have to go somewhere. What's more important is lifelong learning and what you're gonna do with those skills. So we talked a little bit about that. Again, that's all reporting, self-reporting. This career area of preference, again, self-reported based upon answering questions, okay? They had an opportunity to go through, at least the first group of kids in 21st century, to go through and do a career awareness inventory, okay? And those people, we matched up with what they reported here to what they got on the career interest inventory. And then we talk about change and how they're gonna change in the next 4 to 5 years, okay? And this area right here might change.
Will you do that second
Okay.
semester with
And I'll do the same thing second semester, yep.
Can you back up to the educational plans and ask what the choices were?
Yep. You mean right here?
Yeah. So
Do
they
I
picked
ask
one-
them?
They picked one off of a list, right?
Well, yeah, it's how they went through and they answered some questions and they picked, from a list in terms of what they think they might be interested in. Yep,
And it ranged from trade school
Oh,
up
yes.
to
yep,
PhD.
It's very extensive.
Yeah.
There are about 20 choices.
yep.
Okay.
So, and again,
So-
for the most part, yes?
So is this being matched, so they didn't, for example, didn't pick that exactly for your college or university, they picked some choices and it was matched to that one?
Yeah, well, no, it wasn't matched to this one. This was just totally separate in terms of, this choice here had nothing to do with this one here. Okay, it totally separate. It was just their personal preference of what they thought they were interested in doing,
Okay.
okay, down the road. What's really interesting is I don't think I had anybody where this match here, or this one here preference, matched with what they had in the career interest inventory, okay? And again, it's the time that they take the test. They might have put more emphasis into the career awareness, okay? But none of these matched. And we also, again, we go back, we talk about change and how they're changing. Okay?
And the reason they self-select, in case you were wondering, is we can statistically look at it then and say, what are the scores of people that think they're going to a 4-year university versus the students that think they're going to go on to get a doctorate versus the students that do a 2-year. So it's for us to analyze, but we like to look at it too because it sparks great conversation. So that's why it's them selecting.
So this next box, and again, this is where kids kind of sit up a little bit in their seats and they start saying, okay. This is your estimated plan score, composite score, based upon what you scored here. Okay, so now what they're doing is they're crunching a bunch of numbers and they're researching, they're coming up with, okay, what do people do on the plan when they have a composite score of 15? And then they give you a range of 16 to 19, okay? So now all of a sudden, kids that scored, had a lower composite score, come back to the plan and it's still a little bit low. All of a sudden they start thinking, oh, okay, now I see what's happening. Now I see why we need to take this a little bit more seriously, okay? So again, in doing this too, I also explain to them, if you got a low score, okay, it's not the end of the world, okay? Because I still think your present performance goes a long way in terms of where their true abilities are at this point, okay? And I say that because after talking with several kids and after doing this for 20 years, a lot has to do with your present, I guess, state of mind as you take the exam, okay, and you take the test. So all this is they're making an estimate, giving you a range in terms of what their plan will be. When they take the plan, they will also get a range of score in terms of where their ACT will be, okay? So again, explore, plan, ACT. Each time they take it, they're getting experience in terms of how to take a test, a timed test, under those conditions in these areas.
Is there a score that would be considered average or high or low in that composite score range?
Within here,
Yeah. Is there?
I
is
sure,
there such a
there's
thing?
gotta be something like, I haven't done enough research to look at that. If I would compare this, again, this is out of 32, okay? So, I would say that's probably, I would say that's probably, if average, maybe a little bit lower than average, if it's out of 32. Okay, that's just a guess, but I'm sure you could find something like that on the ACT website, and that's where I'll take you in a little bit to show you where that site is, okay? Finally, college readiness, okay? And again, what this is looking at, this is comparing your scores, which you got on that box 1, okay? And then it gives you your bench scores in terms of where they think you need to be within those 4 tests, okay? So, let me go back. Anybody remember what the score was? Oh, it was 16, was it 16? Okay, I think on this particular student had a score of 16. The benchmark, okay, at that grade level at that time would have been 13, okay? Therefore, they're above the benchmark, okay? So that's how you have to look at it. You take your scores, which you got in box 1, and you compare that to the benchmarks, and you say whether you're below, at, or above, or they report that out, okay? And once again, the conversation evolves around kids that didn't score very well in math, okay, and let's say they're below the benchmark, but yet they're getting an A in their class, okay? And my response to them is, that gives me a general idea that I'm not, to me, that's a better indication of where your true abilities are, okay? Now, if you're getting a D or an F in a class and you're below the benchmarks, that's where I would say, okay, you know what, maybe we need to have a conversation about getting you some more support in the area of math, okay? Otherwise, again, it's getting them to look at maybe their strengths, or areas of strength, and their areas of weakness, and to really examine those.
Just backing up kind of with like a disconnect maybe, you've alluded a few times to kind of the mindset when kids take the test and the
Yep.
data is only as reliable as their mindset when they go in. How is this test, because I was kind of confused about the point of the test a little bit myself. How is this test being introduced to students? Like why are they taking this test?
We introduce it as a way of this is an opportunity for them to get exposure to a time test.
Okay,
Okay, that's one. It gives us some idea about what their areas of strengths are, what their areas of weakness, their areas of interest, and then their idea behind planning for the next 4 years.
okay.
Okay? So, again, we do tell them, because we're honest with them, they will say, does this impact my grade? And we tell them, no, it's not going to impact your grade. Okay? But I do think that we need to do a better job of explaining why they need to really take this a little bit more seriously.
I think
Okay.
they know that. I mean, I'm sorry to interject, but I think a lot of them did know that it's like
We
prepping for
tried
your
to.
ACT
Yeah,
testing
we
later.
try to.
And there's a series that is now, it's state mandated, and that's new, so we've been really pushing that this is a series. It's Explore in 8th grade, Plan in
Yeah.
10th, then you take the ACTs, and these are the only practices you have. So like you said, the language arts teachers really, really emphasized that and tried to bring that home, and a good number of the students really heard that message. But, it is what it is. It's one day, and sometimes it's not your best day.
Right. Yep.
Through each year, there are a number of standardized tests that the children are taking. Can you compare this to those, and are those timed tests?
The other standardized tests are not time tests. Okay, if you're alluding to the MAPs and the MCAs, yes, those are not timed tests. Okay? And as of right now, do you know I don't think there's any comparison that I know of
There is no
whatsoever.
statistical comparison. They are not aligned. The maps align with the MCAs align with state standards. The Explore and the Plan and the ACT are kind of a different track of standardized testing, and it's designed to mirror the ACT so that you get an idea before you try to do that college entrance. But Minnesota state standards are not fully aligned with college entrance exams, which is something the state is looking at, but no, they're not.
That's fascinating.
Yes, it is.
It's fascinating or really dumb?
Fascinating in that this is supposed to reflect college readiness and education preparedness, and it's a time test, and these other things, what do they reflect, and they are not a time test. That's interesting.
I think that same question, I think we've kind of struggled with, and we don't have a good answer for that. I mean, what we are hoping for is that there is an alignment with the assessments that they ask us to give to the kids. So in a nutshell, that's basically what happens when we work with your students. Now again, they go a little bit more in depth to some things, and they have a lot more questions, okay? But this is basically how we go through the results with your students, okay? So any questions at all as it relates to the Explore test? The one thing I will say is this too. I don't use these tests in terms of placement or anything like that. We don't look at these tests for educational placement whatsoever, okay? We do look at the MAPs and we do look at the MCAs, but we do not look at the Explore test. Okay, question?
Is this a one-shot deal, or will they get a chance to pick us everything?
They get a one-shot deal with the Explorers, Okay, in 10th grade, they will take a similar test that's called the plan. Okay, which basically is very similar to this test. And then after the plan, that's when they hit the ACT.
How long have they been taking the 8th grade, this one?
The
Has it been
Explorer
a
exam?
while? The Explorer test, has it been around? for a long time?
Probably, I would say at least probably 10 years.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, so is it a pretty accurate predictor then, by the time they get to 10th grade, that range that they're given? I mean, it
No.
just seems to me like, I'm struggling. 'cause
You know,
it's
and
like-
I shouldn't
And
say
like
no.
my daughter, and I don't wanna, like, if she wanted, in her mind, she hears whatever, and then her range is this. The difference between an 8th grader and a 10th grader,
Yeah,
in terms of taking a test like this, I'm struggling to
right.
figure out how they're gonna predict what her score is.
Right, but I would say this, those that really take it seriously and do the best job that they can do, it is a pretty good indicator of what they're gonna do on a plan, okay?
Okay,
The only difference, and again, there's times when I wish we would take this later in the year, because then a lot of these kids are exposed, especially in the math area, okay? I like to see how they do. But it is a pretty good predictor,
Okay.
and I hear that from the high school counselors,
alright,
in terms of how well they do on the plan.
okay,
And the prediction is a statistical prediction, so it really is. But that's a statistical prediction based on you're just living your day-to-day life and nothing's really changing. So obviously if you're like, oh, I'd like higher scores, there are things you can do, taking the ACT classes. You can, if you're in intervention classes and you're not quite up to par, you could take these intervention classes and make much higher growth. So that's a piece that we are working on too.
Okay, any more questions on Explore? Otherwise, I'll move right into kind of what we do regarding credits and moving into 9th grade. All right, so what I do, and again, feel free, if you don't really need this information, feel free to call it a night and do what you need to do. So, 8th grade into 9th grade, okay? Physically, kids are still in our building, okay? And they will be in our building 9th grade until probably, 2017, 2018. Then they will move over to the high school, okay? But, for next year's purposes, physically, they're in our building, okay? Academically, though, they're in the high school, okay? So, everything that they do in 9th grade counts towards credits for graduation. Okay? The magic number we tell the kids is 43. Okay? 43 is a magic number. Okay? You need 43 credits in order to graduate and get that nice Edina diploma. Okay? You cannot have 42 credits and graduate. Okay? But you can have more credits. Most of our kids always go way beyond 43 credits. Okay? Some end up in the area of 50 credits. Okay? So that number itself is very easy to get. Okay?
Again, you said it starts in 9th grade, right? So
Starts
grade
in
counts.
9th grade. Yep. Okay? Of those 43 credits, 30 of them have to be taken at Edina High School. Okay? No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Okay? You can't load up and try to get 16, 17, 18 credits in 9th grade. Okay? So, if 30 credits are at Edina High School, how many can you get, or how many can you leave with at Valley View Middle School? 13. Okay? You will leave with 13 credits. Now, most of your students will have more than 13, but only 13 will count towards that magic number of 43. Okay? Even though every class that they take is credit-based, again, that's why you're always going to graduate with more credits. Okay? Because typically students at Valley View might get 15, 16 credits their 9th grade year, okay? But again, 13 of those will go towards those 43.
But all 16 will count towards the GPA, if they take.
Every class that they take in 9th grade goes towards their GPA, okay? So it has a direct impact on the GPA, but not on that credits, okay? So, once we get out of that, or once we discuss that a little bit about 9th grade and the importance of 9th grade and the importance of second semester of 8th grade leading into 9th grade, okay, we just jumped right into the registration process, okay? And again, on here, you have the 9th grade registration form and the regular program and the extended French, okay? On the blue sheet, we go from the credits and we start looking at what the requirements are for graduation, and that's the blue sheet, okay? You see 2017 on here, that's this year's sophomores, okay? Question?
Yeah, I sorry, I think I didn't catch it, the certain credit. So you cannot have more than 13 credit when you are in 9th
You will
grade?
earn more credits, but you can only take 13 and apply them to that overall 43.
Oh,
okay.
so it's not, we cannot say, oh, let's have the more credit we can in 9th grade and use it
Right.
for the total.
Right.
Anyway, so.
You can only leave Valley View with 13 that will go towards those 43 required credits. Okay? And so when we talk about required credits, that leads us into this blue sheet in terms of what are the required credits for graduation. Okay? And again, you guys can see what I see on here. Okay? The requirements, okay, are in areas of English, you need 8 credits. Social studies, 7 credits. Math, 6 credits. Science, 6 credits. You want to make copies? Okay, go for it. Go for it. Okay? That's all right. I think I can do this. So, when we talk about credits, we talk about how do you earn credits. Okay? 1 semester equals 1 credit. 2 semesters equals 2 credits. Okay? So they get some understanding of even talking the language. Okay? Of semesters and credits. Okay? What constitutes passing? Okay? And I tell the kids this. Okay? In Edina, what constitutes passing is a D- or higher. Okay? D- or higher. If you earn a D- in a class, you basically have passed and you earn the credit. Okay? With that, in Edina, teachers also have the luxury of, if you get a D- to fail you. Okay? So it's, do you really want to get that D-? Okay? And we talk to the kids, no, you don't want to get a D-. Okay? It's funny because if you ask them what constitutes passing, they'll all say C or above. Okay? A C or above. So they were really shocked when they heard a D-. Okay? But you can get a D-. Yes, they do. And a counselor. Okay? So, required credits. Within those 4 areas, you also have requirements in health, and Phy-Ed, and then fine arts. Okay? Now again, what has changed now that we are part of the high school academically? Okay? What has changed is that Phy-Ed requirements, you still need 2 Phy-Ed requirements. You can either wait until high school and take 2 credits of Phy-Ed, okay, which would be 2 semesters, or you can get 1 in 9th grade and do 1 in grades 10 through 12. Okay? We have a lot of kids now that we talk about Phy-Ed, and we talk about the options you have in order to make that requirement up, which is online. Okay? So now there is a Phy-Ed online that you can actually take. In fact, you can take 2 credits of Phy-Ed online. Okay? Kids are excited until I tell them about the cost of it. It's about $350 per class. Okay? Some say still, yes. That means I don't have to participate in Phy-Ed, I don't have to dress, I don't have to shower. That's what I'm doing. Okay? But again, 2 credits of Phy-Ed. Okay? 1 credit of health. Again, you can do health here at school, you can do health online. Okay? Kids are finding out they like to do Phy-Ed and they like to do health online. Why is that? Because they like to get those out of the way and it frees up some space in their schedule at the high school. Okay? In addition, you need 2 fine arts credits. Okay? How do you get fine arts credits? In the area of music, theater, art, photography. All of those classes count as fine arts credits. So kids could take band and orchestra and choir in 9th grade, full year, 2 credits, 2 semesters, they've met their fine arts requirements. Okay? Let me back up. Math, okay? Now that we are a 9 through 12 system, okay, and your GPA is based on 9 through 12, it's no longer 10 through 12, your GPA is a 4-year GPA. As it relates to math, kids have to take 3 years of math. Okay, 3 years of math regardless. So that means 3 years of math, you're going to have to take math through your junior year. Okay, you have to. Okay, it doesn't matter what you leave Valley View with in terms of what subject for math. Some kids will leave in geometry. Okay, they still have to take 2 more years at the high school. Some will leave in AP Stats and Trig. It doesn't matter. They still need to take 2 more years in the high school. So they're taking it through their junior year. Okay? So we take them through all this, okay? And then we talk a little bit again about those requirements. And then if you turn the page again, I think is that the pink page? Okay? We talk about the requirements needed for college, and we just use the University of Minnesota system, all right? And we compare those, okay?
If I'm reading this, the credits don't add up to 43.
What's that?
It doesn't add up to 43.
Yeah, you got electives that are coming into it. Those are just the requirements,
Oh, okay.
okay? Yep, those are just the requirements. Okay, so the pink sheet, okay? Again, that's for their information and your information in terms of what the University of Minnesota is looking at. All right, and so they have a general idea. They compare that to the requirements on that blue sheet. And so they kind of compare and they get the idea that, okay, if I just stick with what Edina asked me for graduation, I'm going to be ready for college, okay? If you turn the page then over, I think it's the goldenrod sheet. All right, then we have a long discussion because we're going through and we're doing a 4-year plan in a little bit. We talk about the differences between courses, AP versus enriched. Okay, what's the difference between AP and enriched? AP, advanced placement, okay, college level course, you can take an exam, get college credit. Enriched, okay, faster paced, more rigor, okay. We talk about why you would take enriched or why you would take AP. We talk about the area of passion, all right. We also talk about that things have changed in the last 3 years as it relates to AP. Everybody thinks you need to get as many AP courses on your transcript as possible, okay. Fill it up with all AP, all right. I am not recommending that at all, okay. What is happening is colleges have caught on to the little game that we played in high school, in the sense that, you know what, no longer can kids go to college with 12 to 15 AP credits. Colleges are saying, what are we losing? Money, okay? Colleges are coming back and saying, you know what, we will accept 6 AP credits, and that's it, okay? But the kicker is they still want you to have a program that you are being challenged with, that you step out of your comfort zone, and that you have some rigor to it. So they still want you to take AP courses. So we talk about how many AP classes should you take a year, okay? And that varies from person to person. But we talk about, my recommendation to kids is, you know what? You should have at least maybe 2, maybe 3 AP courses on your transcript by the time that you graduate. But it should be in the areas of passion, okay? You shouldn't take an AP course because you think it looks good on your transcript. Take something that is in the area of passion, okay, that you really want to be challenged with, okay? Look at those classes, and there's a lot of AP courses out there, okay? Then we start talking about grades in AP and how that's weighted differently, all right? AP classes are weighted, so it's a 1.2 versus a 1.0, okay? Another way to look at that is if you get a B in an AP class, okay, let me think of this. If you get a B in an AP class, it's like getting an A minus, okay, in a regular class, okay? So you actually 2 grade levels up, okay? So B plus, A minus, okay? That's another way to look at that, all right? So 1.2, okay? Then we talk about, again, what happens if you don't do well in an AP class? Do you still get the grade for the class? Yes, you do. But then can you still take the AP exam even though you don't do well in AP class? Yes, you can. Okay? It doesn't matter how you do in a class. If you want to take the AP exam, you can do that. Okay? So again, we talk about AP, we talk about enriched. The opportunities in 9th grade, okay, you have the opportunity to take enriched physics and AP government, U.S. government. Okay? Now, why would kids take AP US Government? Because they have a passion for it. They enjoy government systems, learning about government systems. They enjoy talking about politics. They love reading about current events, okay? And they like to have that type of conversation. All AP courses, textbooks are written at the 12th grade level or higher. You have to be a great reader. You also have to be a writer, because a lot of the AP courses, you are reading, and then you're analyzing what you read and you're writing down. You're trying to explain in terms of what you just read, and you're applying it to a different setting. So you have to be a great reader, you have to be a great writer, okay? Do they try to teach those skills in AP? Yes, but they don't stop everything if you're not a good reader and say, let's get you up, okay? Same with writing. You gotta come into that class with some of those skills. So, we have 3 sections of AP US Government right now. Kids that are in there love the discussions. But on the average, it's about 30 to 35 minutes of homework a night. Okay, just on one course.
How much did you?
Okay, 30 to 35 minutes a night.
You have 3 sections right now?
3 sections
Of 9th grade?
of 9th graders.
How many are in each class?
Yeah. You know, it's anywhere, about 25, some a little bit less. I would say we've probably got about 65 to 70 kids right now. All right. So, AP and Enriched Physics, okay, again, Enriched Physics. We talked a little bit about why would you want to go into Enriched Physics, and that's where we talked a little bit about their results on the Explore and on that Career Awareness, where if they fell in an area of sciences, all right, you might want to look at taking Enriched Physics. If you like doing labs and you like to analyze and predict, look at Enriched Physics. Don't take it because it just looks good on your transcript, okay? So those, along with AP Stats and Trig, AP Stats and Trig though is on that math track. So you don't have a choice. If your kids are taking advanced algebra right now in 8th grade, they automatically get placed into AP Stats and Trig.
Do they go back to the little small group then again, because they're obviously not going to the high school? You know, the double accelerated 9th graders.
Do they what?
Will they be in their own little class? Obviously, they're not gonna, like, they're currently with the 9th graders?
Yeah, they
Those
will
8th
be in
graders?
one section of AP Stats and Trig
Thank you.
here
Do you
in our
have
building.
one this year?
In our
Just one
building.
class?
We have 2 sections this year of AP Stats and Trig. Next year it goes down to 1.
No? Okay.
No.
Those kids aren't as smart. That means it's my kid.
Okay, any questions with that? Required credits. Okay, yeah.
Would you put enriched at 30 to 35 minutes of homework a day?
No, enrich, no. You know, in enrich, there's a little bit more, because you do more labs, so there's more of an analysis that you do with your labs. And then you write up your labs, so, but not nearly like AP. No.
My 8th grader said there was really only one other project that she didn't really
In 8th grade?
Yeah.
That could be in 8th grade. Yep.
Going back to PE Phys Ed, the online classes, are they academic in nature or?
So here's what happens. I've worked with a variety of institutions, okay? The one that I prefer and that I recommend, and I don't get any kickbacks for it, is NSO, which is Northern Star Online. And that's because it's standards-based, it's very streamlined in terms of registration. I get notice of what they're doing, but the other thing is what they do is kids will go through, and a lot of it is about lifelong learning. So they go to different sites, they read about it, they write papers about it, they write up a physical fitness plan, okay? They will do a pre-test and a post-test. And then they talk about what they got out of that, 6, 7 weeks, okay? So a lot of it is just going and doing research and learning about lifelong fitness and reporting back in terms of your thoughts, what you learned about it, and what you're gonna do, 10, 15, 20 years down the road as relates to fitness.
Do PE, I'm sorry, I just want to get back to that. Do PE grades, are they included in your GPA?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And is there any way for people in varsity or junior varsity athletics to comp out of PE?
No. Good question. No, I get that same one with kids. And I will say this, no, not yet, okay? If I can look at 21st century and where we're going as a district, at some point that will happen, but we're not there yet. So.
Can we get there?
Yeah.
Yeah. They do not
enriched classes are not weighted any differently, it's just AP classes.
Just
that you
AP
get.
classes. Yep.
Can you choose between PE 1, 2, and 3? Or is it specific?
And NSO,
Yeah,
yes, you can choose between 1, 2, and 3.
thanks.
Yeah. And again, the nice thing about that, you don't go out looking for a proctor to proctor test. They do all the testing, you get the grade, they send me the grade, and I put the credit on the transcript. So it's very streamlined. You could do it through BYU, it's cheaper, but then you have to mess around with finding a proctor. And sometimes you have to pay a proctor 50 to 75 bucks an hour just to deliver a test. And so when you add up the total amount of money, in the end, you gotta look at how much, how much is your time worth? Because I think BYU is about $225 to $250 a credit versus $350. Okay,
I'm sorry, Mike, when were you saying that some colleges actually cap the amount of AP courses
Yes.
they accept?
yes.
Is there a standard or?
No, not that I know, not that I'm aware of. No, it's just, yes,
They're all
Yeah.
different, but there's a lot that are going that way.
yeah. They're just losing a lot of money.
That's one of the
Well,
things.
yeah. Well, even as I was thinking about it, I was trying to figure out, I mean, I know a lot of people are trying to save money by having their kids take AP and only go to school for 2.5 years. But if you know you want your kid in, say, summer camp before
Yeah,
then what's the advantage of getting those credits?
right.
And so you're saying really not?
Well, the advantage is, and again, and that's the game though, colleges still want you to have AP on the transcript, okay? Because what they're looking at is, they want you to step out of your comfort zone in terms of the rigor, okay? They want you to take challenging courses. They want you to get out of your little box and challenge and be challenged with something new, okay? So that still goes a long way in terms of acceptance into a university, okay?
But just don't.
Right, exactly. Don't overdo it. We already have stressed kids. You know, don't overdo it.
About credit, is food and personal nutrition a health credit?
Is it a what?
Health credit? Like the food and.
A health credit?
Yes.
No,
No.
no.
And what is the difference in between health night and blended health night? Because I checked on
So,
the-
good question. So,
There is no
we do,
information.
blended health is one course that we offer here that's blended in nature, in that it's kind of what we described it, is half seat time and half online time. So kids will not be required, let's just take a class like English, okay, LA. Over 2 weeks, you're in a classroom 5 times, right? Over a 2-week time span. In a blended class, you might only be there 2 times. The rest of the time, you're working on your own, either in a media center or somewhere within the building, and you're working on the Moodle site that the teacher has set up, and you're taking care of the requirements that way. So it's almost like an online class with some seat time, okay? And I talk to the kids about what type of students should look at taking blended, okay? You've got to be a responsible student, okay? You've got to be a student who's an independent learner, okay? You've got to be able to hit timelines, okay? We talk about all those things, all right? Because, an incoming 9th grader might look at that and say, I don't have to go to class. That's awesome. Okay?
So are they-
But what they're missing is that direct instruction, which some of our kids need.
Are they in the building then?
Yeah,
Okay, so they
Yes.
just like come in here?
yes. So you'll see kids out here on the furniture, different furniture we got. They'll be sitting out there. They might be in here. Okay?
Yeah, they're not allowed to leave.
Yeah, but I was just
Don't
thinking
worry.
they can't fill it with a different class because it's half
Yes.
time.
No, because
Yeah.
no, they might
Yeah.
not.
So after we go through all that, then we start looking at developing their 4-year plan. Okay, so we went through 9th grade with the registration, and then we go on to grades 9 and 10. Okay. And again, I'm not going to go through this entirely. Okay, but basically we talk about the differences between middle school and high school, and how they're going from an 8-period day every other day to a 6-period day. Okay. Within a 6-period day, okay, there's obviously certain requirements that they have to take. English, world history. We talk about when you go to the Edina High School, almost every class is an elective class. You take classes when you want to take them. We give you a roadmap in terms of how we think you should do it, but in the end, it's really up to you what you want to take. Okay? So, your sophomore year, there isn't a whole lot to pick and choose from. Okay? But we start talking about ways to manipulate the schedule to get what you want. okay? We talk about delaying things, you know? The big, word that we use, because it's always in political news, is kicking the can. Okay, you kick the can down the road to the next year. What does that mean, okay? In cases like this, we talk about, let's say you're a world language person. Oh, by the way, is there a world language requirement in Edina? No. We still do not have a world language requirement in Edina. You can graduate from Edina High School and not ever take a world language, okay? But she's cringing right now back there, okay?
Killing me slowly.
But you still need it for college, okay? And they're looking at the world language requirement, a minimum of 2 years, okay? Most students, when I say years, I'm saying levels. Okay, you should complete at least a level 2 of a single world language. Most of our kids are gonna take more than that, okay? Because you don't wanna be done with a world language by the time you're a sophomore and then have to take an entrance exam when you get accepted by a college and not have any, experience with that language for 2 years, okay? So, most of our kids will take it at least through a level 3, which gets them through their sophomore year, okay?
Speaking of languages, so, we have a French student, and I swear that it was way back when we started middle school, they said you could add another world language in 9th grade, and now it doesn't look like that's the case.
Yeah, no, and I'm not quite sure.
You can add them in 10th grade.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
don't
actually
know.
quite common. I'm a Spanish teacher and formally, and a lot of the French students join in 10th grade.
There's certain circumstances where we do have kids that are taking another language, okay? But it gets very difficult in a block schedule because only certain classes meet at certain times, okay? Are some kids doing it? Yes, they are. But in order to do that too, they have to give something up, and that's why I'm kicking the can down the road. You have to give something up and take it later on, okay? So when I talk to kids about ways to manipulate your schedule, we talk about here, let's say you're taking a world language your sophomore year and you're a music person, okay? Well, let's say somewhere down here you're an IED or you're an engineering student and there's no place for that. Your one option is to look at a 0-hour class and put it down at 0 hour, so you can take chemistry and move it to 0 hour and then put in your engineering class up here, okay? Or the other option is, you know what, you can take your world history and not take a world history your sophomore year and take a world history your junior year and senior year, okay? Because every class is an elective. So you can manipulate this schedule to get what you need, okay? You just always have to make sure that you look at that blue sheet and make sure you're meeting your requirements, okay? In the world history area, I talked to the kids about, you can take a world history, okay, a world and a Euro count towards the same thing, a world history. But then you have to get a US in at some point. So your only requirement is you need 2 credits of a world and two credits of a US. Doesn't matter when you take them. You can take them as a sophomore or a junior, as a junior or a senior. It doesn't matter. Okay, everything's an elective. You can shift things over when you want to. You don't have to take a chemistry if you don't want to your sophomore year. You can take it your junior year.
So under that system where you can really take things when you want, so do they still keep sophomores, would sophomores be in a class with seniors then?
Yeah.
If they're both
It's
taking-
all
It's
classes
multi-grade.
are multi-grade in the high school.
all
Now,
of them?
grant you, we're giving you a prescription because we want you to take physics, chemistry, and then bio, okay, and research. The science program is set up for that, okay? So some classes like chemistry are gonna have more sophomores
right.
than juniors or seniors.
But conceivably then,
Yes.
the sophomore you could be in a class with
Yes, yep, yep.
And the 0 hour is not available for 9th grade.
We do not have a 0 hour for 9th grade. Usually we're starting at 5:30.
Yeah, I know.
Can you explain, so what's the 0 hour? They just-
So in the high school, they have a 0 hour. Okay, they have a 6-period day. 0 hour starts before school begins. So 0 hour at the high school begins at
7:30.
7:25, 7:30? Do you know?
Well, it's 54 minutes before whenever school starts.
School starts at 8:30, so it's somewhere around
So it's
7:30.
like 7:25,
Within 10 minutes of
7:30.
that.
Okay, and they can either choose to take a class for one semester, or they can take it for second semester. Okay, you don't have to take a 0 hour all year. You can just choose to take it second semester only.
But the thing to remember too is not all classes
Are
are
offered.
offered.
Yeah.
And you get credit for it, same as any
Yes.
regular.
Credit. Yep.
So it's a way to fit 7 classes into your schedule.
So again, instead of 12 credits, you could end up maybe getting 14. Okay? So we talk a little bit about the way to manipulate a schedule as a sophomore. Okay? Then we move on and we talk about grade 11. And we start talking about how, as you get a little bit older, okay, you will notice that your schedule starts opening up a little bit more because you're knocking off all of the required credits. Okay, so now you've got opportunities to take more electives, okay, or let's say an extended French example, if you're an extended French in 9th grade, you don't get econ, okay? Well, now as a junior, you've got some opportunities and some space to take econ, okay? Or let's just say in 9th grade, you took music and you're an engineering person and you didn't get Phi Ed or health. Well, now as a junior, you've got opportunities to fill in those gaps with Phi Ed and health. Okay, so now you've got more flexibility within your schedule to pick and choose the classes you want. And the same thing applies here. You can manipulate things. You can push them down, kick the can down the road, so to speak. Okay, but again, you're opening your schedule up because you're kicking off the credits you need for graduation. And then by the time you're a senior, okay, grade 12, really the only class that kids have to take, more than likely, is an English credit. Okay, 1 or 2 credits, and that all depends if they didn't double up on English. That would be the only requirement. Other than that, your senior year, okay, you're wide open. Okay, you can put whatever you want in there. Social studies choice if you didn't take it as a sophomore. Okay, science, math. Otherwise, they're all electives. Okay. But again, you still have room your senior year if you don't want to take something as a 10th grader or an 11th grader to pick that up as a senior. Okay? So, again, I went through this fast and we go slow with your kids, but it gives them some idea about how to work and manipulate and what a 4-year plan looks like. It gives them some idea about credits, about graduation. Okay? And I'm not sure, you know, even with this year's class of 9th graders, I'm not sure where the confusion is, but 9th grade does count, okay? Even though physically you're in our building, 9th grade does count. Everything is credit-based. Your GPA is now based on 9 through 12. Okay?
Is there a link to the full course catalog to build out this 4-year plan?
Yes. Say that again.
So, I'm sorry, it's probably easier, but is there a link to the full course catalog to actually start building up?
That's at the Edina High School, okay? And then you can go to, let me see this. So you go to the Edina High School website, you go to counseling on the left-hand side, you click on counseling, and then you're gonna have to click another link on the left-hand side, which is registration.
Okay.
Everything that I provided you tonight came from Edina High School. Okay, I just didn't print the 60-page booklet of classes and so forth, okay? So, but everything is there on that webpage, okay?
That's what it looked like after you came to talk to him.
I always tell the kids, you know, I caught Mr. Jensen on a bad morning.
That's a good one.
So here's what we go through then, okay? I quiz them about health, 1 credit. Phi Ed, they need 2 credits, okay? Fine arts, they need 2 credits, okay? We talk about the difference between Enrich and AP, and then we talk about GPA, okay? Just so you know, Edina High School it's on a 12-point scale, but it's also a 4-point scale. So when you get to your GPA, there'll be a 12-point scale at the high school. There'll be a 12-point scale report, and then on a 4-point scale, okay? We talked about the 4-year plan, talked about 0 hour, okay? Online, I mentioned to them about the opportunities for online courses, when you should do that. I do tell them what's really important, however, if you're choosing to take an online course, make sure you clear it with me first, because it has to be related to the state standards, okay? There's a lot of places out there that provide online courses, but they're not registered with the state and they don't have state standards, okay? They're really fluff classes, okay? That's why if you try to find an AP class that's online, You might be able to find one, okay, but we don't equal that into your GPA. Okay? So, this is what we do, and then we just have time for questions and answers, okay?
Just one quick one. You talked about colleges accepting just 6 AP credits?
Yep.
Is that 6 AP classes?
That would be credits.
And so like AP trading that
Thank you.
2 credits?
Yep,
Okay.
yep. It's a full year,
This is probably 3 classes then.
so yes,
6
if it's a
credits,
full
3
year.
classes, full
Yes.
year.
It's-
Okay.
Yeah, if it's a full year.
And most of them are full year. Are there any AP
Yes.
classes that are just?
Most of them are full year.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yep. What's that? Oh, okay, okay. All right, any other questions at all? Yep.
I have a child who would like to be in band, or will be in band, but would also be interested in the intro to engineering. How
Yep.
can we do both?
So next year,
Yeah, in ninth grade.
so what they would do again, they would not get their FIED or their health. So they
So
would
he
take
can opt out
engineering
and not
and
do
band, and then your options would be either to take it online, or else they can wait until they get into high school and take it as, a sophomore or a junior. Okay, or a senior.
Because it
Okay.
is, okay, so we can
So-
just say,
So
no.
even though the registration makes it look like PE is required, it's not.
Right, and again, we're giving you a guideline,
Right.
okay? But again, there's ways to manipulate that in order to get what you
Because if
want.
you have a bandy and an engineering
Right.
kid,
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Right,
okay.
right,
Okay.
yep.
And can extended French be an AP class?
They will take the AP French 5 exam in high school, and that's what most of the extended French kids are leading up to, is to take that AP exam. Most of them will take it probably their junior year. Some might try to do it before that.
So that was,
Yeah.
The AP French 5, yes, you get 2 credits a full year.
Oh, yes.
Yep.
and then on the math track, if you're an accelerated math track, do you end up with AP automatically, or is it?
No, you could end up with AP Stats and Trade, which
Is that the only math AP?
there's AP Computer Science, and there's Calc AB, I think it's AP Calc AB and AP Calc AC.
So this one you do the next sheet.
Yeah,
This one the decision tree.
yep.
Just so, I just wanna, we already found a mistake.
Right, that's what my dad's
For
doing right now.
ninth grade.
So,
So, if you're extended French, if you go to the course descriptions, it lists 2 French courses. One of them is for kids that test into it. We don't do that.
Same idea.
So all the kids in ninth grade are taking essentially the same French language course. All kids in extended French in ninth grade take the same, and it's the more rigorous of the 2 subjects.
And then,
It's called extended French. It's right on the registration. That's
No,
correct.
they're not.
I told
That's
them, I thought this whole thing was a drop-in.
But the course description,
oh, I thought so too.
that's
That's what they said.
That's what they said.
Again,
but the
So when I got here, everyone was.
okay, they have other, they can take an AP.
And then when I saw he was talking, I was like, okay, you can't access him, what did
Those are classes that are available for
Yeah, exactly.
more opportunities to take AP. But I would never, ever.
They want you to figure out.
Yeah, what is your?
Yes,
Yes, they
They didn't really want this.
You know, sophomore
That, you know
year,
what,
if
that I'm
you're
interested in.
And then, what is it, just like
Health nine,
You know, they're anywhere between
Yours were, yeah.
3 to 5 to 6
classes?
classes.
This one,
Yeah,
he's right
yeah,
on.
that's,
because that's actually good.
that's a
You're right.
right. No.
Yeah.
It was the best way.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
Yeah.
and that's, I think, everybody gets excited when they're great.
well, I'm not sure what.
And I think they realize they should.
Yeah.
But here, they have.
Yeah, exactly.
They built great.
It's a fun, yeah.
Some actually wait until it's
She's like, what's the difference? Sorry, I'm like, oh, it's fun.
It was fun. They notched like a razor and then
I would recommend that because they're gonna have.
yeah, that's all I heard.
Yeah, they
Like,
don't.
it was
And then meetings for.
Yeah. They built like a mousetrap, like a Google sort of thing. So it was pretty lucky.
It's always nice when you apply and you always have what class. Those grades.
Some kids will.
But so I don't want to speak to that, but he hasn't put grades.
When they,
But he hasn't
we don't recommend that. You may have some.
so I don't know. But it wasn't junior year, so.
Right, and that's why you do see a lot of kids that are taking the
Okay.
so they can't find.
It's
Exactly.
I know, I understand a little bit better, yeah. I feel like I need the. I was getting so cranky when I saw Southeast, they had a I was like, a little more. I don't think they looked at those.
Yeah, exactly the same.
Right.
Yep.
I would say it's an
They're still required to take tests. So what you see a lot of times, these kids, maybe they might have studied, otherwise they're taking classes that they want to take because they might
Okay, well,
So what we see here is, let's say kids, maybe they're interested in the medical field. What you will see kids are usually, they might take you in okay? So they're taking classes that they have an interest in, that might help them with their career.
Yeah, she's gonna go like
okay, oh, yeah, Thomas has already done his entire 4 years.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
seventh grade. They
I thought it said something like that.